What's going on, guys? BK here. I just want to make a little video showcasing what I've been working on lately. But before we get into it, as you guys already know by looking at the thumbnail and the title of the video, you probably have a good idea on what it's going to be about. So it's going to be very difficult for me to add a little suspense to it. But I also want to give a little bit of a explanation as to how we got here. That being said, I'll try and be quick. So long story short, I've been competing in Pro-Am for, majority of those who know. And I've been competing in Pro-Am with my Nissan 370Z, but it was supercharged while I was competing for the few years until this year. So after having the supercharger installed for a while, it was great, but it did have some issues. Now, the issues weren't really too concerning, but it was kind of hindering my performance, and I felt like I needed just a little bit more power because whenever it was supercharged, it made 445 wheel horsepower and I think 363 torque, but that was all at the top end. And because it was all at the top end, it would give me some issues at low end speed. So if I'm in third gear and I need to do a low speed clutch kick, it would tend to bog because, it needs to build up the RPM to get its power. Also, I don't know why my eyes keep looking that direction. I swear I'm not crazy or anything. But yeah, that was a pretty big issue of mine. And I'm like, well, I got the supercharger to begin with because it was the easiest option at the time when it came to getting my car ready for Pro-Am. So what I mean by that is, that car right there was never supposed to be a Pro-Am car. It was supposed to be a simple seat time car that would just live forever and never give me any issues. Spoiler alert, but this car, my 1991 slick top Z32 with the LS1 inside it, was supposed to be my Pro-Am car. Now, that plan was in motion a few years ago, and unfortunately the car still isn't drivable yet. Majority of that is my fault, and that's okay. It'll be driven this year. So what happened was, since my 370 was stock and already proven, I'm like, okay, well, this would be the easiest option to build on since, like I said before, it's stock and it's proven. So let's just add a little bit of boost to it and see where it goes. Versus getting my 300ZX running and tested, and hopefully it's not going to blow up anytime soon. I just didn't really want to risk that for my first season or second season doing Pro-Am because, the 370's always been tried and true, so it was kind of hard to stray away from that. So all of that said, near the end of 2023, I decided that I'm going to sell my supercharger, and I'm going to use all of that money that I made back from selling my supercharger to purchase a welder, material, gas, and anything else I needed to build me a single turbo kit. So after a little bit of pondering, I decided that I'm going to commit to this, and I did sell it. And I did buy a welder, and I've been practicing my welding so that I could eventually make myself a single turbo kit. Mainly because it will save me a lot of money in the future, and absolutely no disrespect for any of the fabricators out there, but the kits are pretty expensive for a good reason. You guys invest a lot of time in that stuff, so I understand why you got to charge what you're charging because you got to get your time back from it. I get it. It's very tedious. It takes a long time to do all this stuff. But the other thing is I have multiple cars, multiple VQ powered cars that I'd like to have boosted in the foreseeable future. So basically, if I were to purchase a kit and never ever learn how to weld, then I'd be buying maybe 3 to 4 turbo kits, and depending on who I buy it from, could range from $20,000 or $40,000. So after realizing that, I decided that I really need to figure out how I can get this done at a more affordable cost. So that is when I purchased a TIG welder. Can't see it that well. This is a mess, my bad. But anyway, it's an Eastwood TIG 200. So between, I think, early January or maybe late December, I began TIG welding. Now, I didn't have like a physical teacher, by my side or a classroom setup. It was just me and some help over the internet. Now, by some help, I mean I made a post in this welder group saying that I was basically explaining my plan, and that was it. I was just kind of like, I guess you can say, trying to hype people up. And as I made that post, someone by the names of Jared Sams commented and said, "Hey, if you're serious about this, then I can help you." So Jared Sams, he played basically the entire role into this journey of mine. And what I mean by that is, out of the kindness of his heart, he would donate several hours, a week or a day, just kind of like coaching me, answering all my questions, and explaining things for me. And if I were being honest, if it weren't for him, I don't think I would have even made it this far. So with some of that stuff said, I want to show you guys some of the practice pieces that I did before we get to the car in the shop. All right, fair warning, these aren't organized, but this is basically like 90% of every piece that I practice on before I decided to actually get started with welding my own turbo kit. Spoiler alert. So all of these pieces, I did not do any back purging. I was just trying to build up a little consistency. And once again, these are not in order, but I only have between like day 2 and maybe day 10 of all of this stuff. So I'll just give a quick little overview of, everything. So this is how I started. And what I would do is each day, well, not each day, but if I were to go out in the shop and weld, I would give myself at least an hour. Now, by at least an hour, I mean like I would just sit in the shop and just try and just get some consistency and donate an hour, I'll just say each day, which isn't true at all, but donate an hour each day practicing TIG welding. So my goal was just to take my time and build consistency and not just sit there at the table just TIG welding until I just cannot function anymore. I didn't see that as a proper way to learn how to absorb everything that I'm doing. I need to take breaks, analyze, my welds, and ask questions so that I can improve. And I think I have quite a few pictures for reference with what I'm about to say next. But I think it was like day 10 or after day 10, that's when I decided that I want to start, giving this whole single turbo kit thing a try, because I had given myself a time limit. So around day 10, I decided that I want to, stop just doing the simple welding 2 pipes together and start, fabricating my own single turbo kit. So as you can see, this was the start of it. I'm just gonna show some pictures that I have, somewhere in the corner over here maybe, or something like that. But these were my first steps into making all this stuff. So my biggest problem was, trying to make the pipes from A to B fit. Like, I couldn't really measure anything. Like, I didn't have any experience with doing that. Everything was just all eyeballed for the most part, and maybe a tape measure, but that was all that I had, and I was working with what I got. So eventually, after a long time, I'm gonna say at least 16 to 17 hours, I managed to, I can't really remember, but I think I got the crossover pipe almost completed. And if I'd be honest, at the time, I was really excited. I'm like, wow, like, I have very little experience in doing this, and I managed to make, a to B crossover pipe. Like, everything kind of fit. It looked like garbage, and it probably wasn't gonna last long with the 21 pie cuts that I had. I believe it was 21. But it made me happy to literally make something out of nothing, because I've never done it before. But unfortunately, as time went on, I realized that I was not proud of my work, and I believed that I could do better. And the reason why I felt that way is because I was competing with other seasoned welders that make these kits. I'm not going to say for a living, but they know what they're doing and they know how to make a very good kit. So in other words, I was motivated and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to do this, but I need to do it. And I chopped it up and I restarted. So doing that really hurt because you just invested so many hours into something just to destroy it within a matter of seconds. But my mindset was, if I can do this right the first time, then it's going to last a long time. So I also forgot to mention that I posted, basically all my progress on TikTok, and some of the comments kind of gave me some advice on what I should do. Why I'm not looking this way. I'm literally looking straight at the phone, but we're just gonna have to roll with this today. I'm sorry, just ignore my eyes. But anyway, I posted like all my progress on TikTok, and they would give me advice here and there, along with Facebook as well. And I still can't pronounce this word, so don't mind me. But one of the big things that everybody was saying is, why am I not using mandrel bends? So I had no idea what that was. Like I said, I'm just getting started with this. I just bought some straight pipe, 2.5 inch, and I just got to weld the cutting. Then I decided to look into, the mandrel bend pipes that everybody was talking about and got hip to it. So after restarting with the new information that I gathered, I like to say I made a pretty drastic improvement, and I was proud of it. But unfortunately, I had some stuff going on between February and maybe like a little bit of the middle of April that prevented me from being able to focus on coming out here in the shop to really get some welding done to it. My fault, no excuses. And because of that, I missed my own deadline that I set for myself. And my deadline was supposed to be at the end of February, just to challenge myself. Now, at the speed that I was going at, I was getting pretty confident that I could make it. But now that I look back, I'm pretty glad that I didn't really meet my deadline, because I have no idea how terrible that kit would have actually been. So after I got, I guess we can say, the second version somewhat completed, like maybe 80% done, I just, took a pause for like a couple of months and didn't touch it. And so recently, last month, like near the ending of last month, I needed some assistance with my project that I wanted to do all by myself, but I realized I just couldn't do it by myself and I needed help. But this wasn't the first time that I actually needed help. Devon, he made me I'll just call it like what do they call that thing? Where it's like a 2-to-1. He made me a 2-to-1 pipe because, like I said, I was just getting started doing it, and I just needed something made so that I can continue on with my kit. But that was in February, so back to near the end of April. I took my crossover pipe to my friend's shop in Menor, Alba Motor Works, because I needed some help after discovering a mistake that I made, and I also wanted them to weld up some of my wastegates. So I didn't feel confident welding up my own wastegates because it seemed like a very sensitive part to weld on, especially knowing that I was burning holes like crazy through everything, and it's been like a couple of months since I even welded. So I'm like, dude, this isn't something that I want to really mess with, because if I do it wrong, then I destroy the entire crossover pipe and I got to restart all over again. So I asked her for help. I brought the kit over, and as I removed my turbo kit, I realized that I may have made a huge mistake 2 months ago. And that huge mistake was, I'm hoping I got pictures for references, but if I don't, then hopefully you guys can visualize it. But my passenger side crossover tube basically came straight down. It was a really aggressive angle. It came straight down right in front of the turbo exhaust. Or shall I say, where the turbo exhaust would have been. So, long story short, we tried different solutions to make it work without me having to basically chop it up and, kind of redo everything again. But deep down inside, I knew what I was gonna have to do. They all knew what I was gonna have to do. And they welded up my wastegates for me and sent me along my way. So in order to fix what I messed up previously, there is a creepy crawly right there. But previously, I was doing all my cutting with this chop saw. So the chop saw, it was very cheap. I was able to go to Harbor Freight and buy this thing for like 140 bucks or less. It worked for the time being, but it made some real sloppy cuts. And as a beginner with not knowing what I was doing, I needed a like a better controlled environment. I had a very large margin for error. So I went on Marketplace and I was doing a little looking. I'm like, I wonder if I can find me a bandsaw. And I did. I found basically a slightly used bandsaw for 200 bucks. This bad boy was an absolute game changer. And the reason why I say it was an absolute game changer is because, for one, the cuts were so smooth. Like, I can't even explain the differences between the chop saw cuts and the bandsaw cuts. But once I started welding on it, everything just kind of like went together. Like, I knew what I was doing. Mind you, I haven't touched the welder in like 2 months. So being so new to something and then kind of like postponing it, just not doing it for a couple of months and then going back into it, you would think that you would be a little bit rusty. But I swear things were just different. Like, it felt like I was just welding on a flat piece of stainless. Like, there was no seam or anything. Because normally when there's a seam, after I done, chop 2 pipes together with the chop saw, it would typically go together pretty rough. Like, the puddle just, I don't know, I can't describe it. You've seen the stuff that was in there, showcasing my day 1 through day 10 project pieces that I was learning on. That's kind of what it would look like consistently every time I would use my chop saw. Now, it's not fair to blame the chop saw. It's not the chop saw's fault. It's a user. Oh, that is a bee or something attacking me. But regardless, I'm on like attack mode right now because this thing is trying to kill me. But regardless, the chop saw made things a lot easier. Both the pipes were actually like together flush. There was no gap, so I wasn't burning any holes or anything. But also, something just kind of clicked, and messing with the TIG welder and stuff, things started making more sense, and I don't know why. It was as if I was gaining experience by not actually doing it. So, with all of that being said, I can finally show you guys, like I said, spoiler alert, because you already, well, I can't say spoiler alert because you've already seen it in the picture of the thumbnail and the title. But now I can finally show you guys and talk a little bit about what I got going on right now. So underneath my 370Z, we will have my single turbo kit crossover section that I made myself for the majority of it with only 18 days of TIG welding experience. I want to get the flashlight on so you guys can see it, but this is what they welded up for me. I haven't put the bolts in the flanges yet, but this is what I got going on. I'm not going to get too up close and personal with the welds because they're not pretty, but I believe they're going to work for right now. So as you can see, now I got plenty of room between here. Before it was like straight down here, and there was nothing that I could do. I couldn't add any like elbows or anything to navigate around this pipe, but now I got plenty of room to do that, and I'll be doing that this week once my material comes in. But this is what I got going on. This is what I did. And for those wondering, this is a Pulsar PSR 6262. So, as corny as it sounds, but every time I look at this thing that I made, don't get on me about this. I already posted on Facebook. I already know it was a bad idea. I didn't know. It's just what I thought would be the best placement for this. I'll redo it in the future, but for right now, I'm kind of strapped for time. But anyway, I keep looking at this and I'm starting to compare it with other fabricators, and I'm like, I'm not trying to insult their work, but I'm like, this is looking pretty close to what they produce, and I'm doing this with only 18 days of welding experience. But there are a few more things I want to show you guys with this kit, because you can have the crossover pipe, but if you don't have the intercooler or intercooler piping, then it's kind of useless. Now, I don't have very much experience welding aluminum. I basically did everything within like a couple of days in between, being on the road and off the road, truck driver stuff. But I managed to do my intercooler piping. Right now the intercooler is not mounted up yet. I need to make brackets, so I have to, clean up my crash bar and then making some brackets that the intercooler is permanently fixed. and I also need to weld up my math ports today on the charge pipes. But regardless, everything is welded up for the most part where it needs to go. My welds, they're not pretty, but they work for right now. And like I said, all of these welds, well, all these cuts were done with the chop saw. And whenever I was practicing, I don't think I have my practice piece anymore. I think I may have tossed it. But whenever I was practicing just on, you know, like the face of the aluminum here, my welds were looking, you know, pretty presentable. It wasn't, you know, like a $50 weld or anything, but I mean, it would work for what I'm trying to do with it. It looked a lot better than the mess that I got going on down there. But regardless, it was working just fine for the most part. So I know if I were to redo it again with the chop saw this time, I'll have much cleaner cuts to give me more consistent, reliable welds. So we got the first charge pipe that comes off the turbo. It's somewhere down there. Now, I'm just gonna explain some things before I get called out in the comments that you can't really see. I'm probably gonna end up welding these two pipes together. Right now there's a coupler holding those two things together, but it's right by the exhaust header, and I'm pretty confident it's just gonna melt within like one dyno session. I'm gonna wrap majority, if not all, of the intercooler piping inside the engine bay with that reflective tape to help with the, you know, charge temperatures. But that's what I got going on for this one. Show you guys how I did it. So, oh my bad. Here you got. So this is off the turbo. Comes up here through there with a reducer, and then this is the passenger side one. Ugly. 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 But you know what? I don't care. I'm just saying it to take power away from you guys whenever you all start dogging me and being like, man, them things look like slugs. And they do. And they're my slugs. But regardless, that's what I got going on for this thing. So I got a few more things I gotta do, such as I'm waiting for parts, you know, my scavenging pump came in, but I don't have the other stuff I need for it to make it, you know, all work together. So it's kind of pointless that I have one part and not the other. So I can't really do anything right now. But I'm really hoping that's going to be here before the end of this week so that I can finally button everything up and start it, because the first Pro-Am event is on May 17th. And what's today? Is it May 5th or May 6th? But regardless, I have about like 12 days left to get this done. And the only type of testing I'm gonna have, assuming it's not garbage right off the rip, is going to be on the dyno. So I'm winging this thing, and I'm hoping that if it survives the dyno, then it'll survive just one round. If it blows up, you know, after the first round, that's fine. It'll give me some time to go over what I did and fix everything and get it done right and ready for round two. You know, I'm laughing, but really I don't want it to blow up. But I'm just kind of being realistic. I don't know what's gonna happen. This is my first time ever messing with this stuff. Not like a boosted VQ, but something that I made by myself. So I don't know what hurdles is gonna happen. It may not even make it to the dyno. I may have an issue with the oil flowing back from the turbo into the oil pan because the scavenging pump I have sucks, and that's going to cause another delay. That's another delay that I cannot afford right now. So like I said, this is a Hail Mary. I put myself in this position, so if I don't make it to round one, that's on me. So now that I've shown you guys what I was able to accomplish with the little experience that I have, I want to go over the cost, and maybe it'll inspire some people to, you know, give it a shot for themselves and save some money along the way. But I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds to take a guess as to how much I have invested into everything. And that's, I guess, yeah, we'll just do the car first, and then we'll add the argon refills and the TIG welder purchase along with filler rods and some other stuff. Okay, I think enough time has passed. So with just the material and turbo and the oil scavenging pump and all that stuff, all the stuff that's on the car to get it to where it is now, I am at $2,250. So $2,250 into a turbo kit of mine that I'm hoping will meet or exceed a little over 500 wheel. And the welder I purchased for $500. Argon, I've had about 5 refills, I think. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember. It's been a while. But I know each refill was $60. So that's $300 in that. So plus the price of the welder puts me at $800 for, you know, the welding stuff. And then we have the filler rod that I bought. Actually, I only needed like maybe 3 types of filler rods and stuff, but that was like $65 total. Now the argon refill, and mind you, all of this like cost and stuff was all the pipes I purchased to learn to weld, along with all the argon purchases as well, because I didn't use that much argon, I think, during the, I guess I'm gonna say, final stage of the single turbo kit, because before it was just trial and error and I had no idea what I was doing, so I was just wasting a lot of gas. But where I'm getting at is, if you got the free time and you got a little bit of money for, you know, a TIG welder, you can piece together your own turbo kit for basically pennies on the dollar. And in return, that's gonna save you even more money. So if you have more project cars, or if you got a buddy or two and they're like, hey man, you know, I'm trying to go fast, but I ain't got a whole lot of money, so I'm trying to cash in on our friendship to, you know, use 20, 30 hours of your time to save me $1,000. Now, I personally wouldn't mind that. Right now, I'm not gonna mind that. I'd be kind of thrilled if I can replicate, you know, my turbo kit onto my other friends' cars that have them to help save them money, and we're all just fast for the summer. And it'll last long too, that's also a win. But I will also say that I am still not done with this car, so I shouldn't be getting too excited. I shouldn't even make this video, because if it doesn't work, then everything I said was just pointless. But before I end this video, once again, I believe that anyone can do something like this if they just try. It was frustrating at the beginning because I got really depressed thinking that there is no way I'm going to be able to get anywhere near close to get this kit to where I want it. But I can say each day I made progress. Some days were, you know, some steps back, but then it allowed me to leap forward. And each time I had to tear apart my kit and redo it, it was always better. That's one thing that I will stand by, and that's one thing that's a fact. So where I'm getting at is, if someone's out there and they want to like do something like this, just get out there and start it. You know, it's either someday or day one. The choice is yours. But I got a couple more things before I end this video. So if you are interested or curious as to see how Mr. Deku over there will turn out within the next couple of weeks or months, or whoever knows how long this will end up taking, then make sure to follow some of my other social media, such as Facebook or TikTok. I normally post, you know, like pictures on Facebook and little short videos on TikTok, just kind of like showcasing some of my progression. That way, you know, our TikTok brains can tolerate, you know, this watching a minute-long video instead of a 15-minute long video, or however long the video will end up being. I also tried making this as short and sweet as possible and to the point, because previously I was going to showcase like everything, because I kind of like recorded just about majority of the entire journey with this thing, and I have maybe 15 gigs of video that I have at my disposal for a future video. Maybe I can make something up in the later future if it gets enough interest to like actually show my thought process and everything on how this began, because right now I'm just showing you guys the good stuff. I didn't show you guys the struggle yet. So enough of that. Still got the G37. Quick little fun fact, I did sell my G35 6-speed sedan. It's no longer here. I was pretty hype about, you know, getting coilovers. My FDF kit came in for it so that I could, you know, make my drift taxi. But after some long thinking, I decided that I want to copy Ben Lee just a little bit more. He also inspired me to make my own single turbo kit. Not saying, you know, not saying that in a bad way to disrespect him or anything, but, you know, whenever I see people doing things that I want to do, then I kind of get attached to them, and I just like, I want to be like you, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to achieve that goal. But also he does a lot of cool stuff, such as manual swapping a Infiniti Q50 and then having the long block built so that it could, it could withstand the low end torque the R35 GTR turbos will produce on that engine. And his car is so sweet. It is like one of the coolest cars I've ever seen. And so I'm like, you know what? I keep thinking about it and I'm like, I need a Q50. So I sold that. I'm going to start the search at finding a Q50. I already got a trans for it. I got to get, the rest of the stuff for it. And then once it gets here, I can manual swap it, find some coilovers. I already got a full FDF kit sitting on the shelf over there. So toss all that together and get that ready to be a drift taxi. So I'm not going to try and limit, and I'm not going to try and set a deadline for this. It's just going to be, it gets done whenever it gets done, because I really got to focus on getting my other car up and running. All right, for realsies, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Wish me luck for the Pro-Am season this year. If I'm gonna be honest and be transparent as possible, I'm gonna say I'm probably not gonna make round one, and that's okay. The whole point of this is that I learn how to weld, and it's not like there won't be any competitions either. I know that's like an easy way out to say that, but that's just my realistic, view of how everything's been going, because I put myself in this situation and I gotta hold myself accountable for it. So regardless, Deku, there you are. He should be running pretty soon, hopefully, and then I can get my purple car, my LS car, running as well. Now, originally that car wasn't going to be turboed, but after experiencing comp and stuff, I'm like, dude, I don't think a stock LS1 at this track with these drivers is going to really be too much of a competition. So that's what I got going on. There should be some more videos of me getting some extra seat time with Mr. Junior over there, but until then, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.